And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. On the latest Pop Culture Cosmos, Josh Peterson and I covered the latest news coming out of the huge record-breaking Memorial Day weekend as Lilo and Stitch, huge opening for Disney with this live-action feature. Also as well, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, record numbers for the MI franchise. We talk about that. I review Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. Where do I place it among the pantheon of Mission Impossible films? Find out right there for you on the latest Pop Culture Cosmos on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, and find radio stations around the world as well. DBSH, Daniel Barry Sports Highlights, was in earlier. He was wishing everyone a happy Memorial Day. Go ahead and check out his great streams, including some fantastic NBA 2K streams on his YouTube channel. Don't forget as well all the great people that are out there that help us out, including Empire Jeff TV covering the Lakers and Dodgers, the Lakerholics crew at Lakerholics.com. They're still thinking about coming back for a summer edition here and there, so hopefully they will for a weekend episode or two during the course of the off season. Also as well, of course, don't forget all the great people who are a part of the community right there for you at the Lakers Fast Break, starting with, if you like and subscribe, go ahead and keep the channel running by liking and subscribing today. Liking to all the videos and subscribing. Plus, also become a member for just $2.99 a month. Go ahead and make sure you are doing that. And if you do, it is sincerely appreciated. Big shout out as well to Zachary Robledo on his channel, Lakers Live. Also as well, of course, John Costa, Clutch Talk of Lakers Corner. Those guys were on our playback channel, playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. And if you want to see the NBA playoffs, go ahead. Each and every time out, right there for you on playback. Well, getting closer to the NBA Finals, one step closer maybe, with Oklahoma City holding out and holding off the Minnesota Timberwolves on the road with a narrow 128-126 victory. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander continuing to prove that he is a viable and legitimate MVP winner by scoring 40 points today, 10 assists, 9 rebounds. Jalen Williams, great supporting cast for him, 34 points for him, and then Chet Holmgren chipping in with 21. That's the kind of support he needs, and they got it today with a very, very exciting and explosive 41-38 fourth quarter. Hopefully everybody enjoyed that. And again, that now has the Minnesota Timberwolves on the edge of extinction for this season, down 3-1 indeed. But the guy's here who's going to talk about it, as he's going to go ahead and, oh, that was Magic Man popping in and out. He's going to go ahead and come right back with us, hopefully. But yes, wanted to hear your thoughts. Is the series over? I think according to some that I've seen earlier, JSJ already has the Thunder in the finals. Is there anyone out there that thinks that the Minnesota Timberwolves can come on? Please let us know. Clutch Talk and Lakers Corner, Mr. John Costa. Come on, jump on, man. I sent you links. Jump on into the conversation. But here today to go ahead and discuss the NBA playoffs, and also as well, Rui Hachimura, something he mentioned to me. Oh, don't worry. I see these things in WhatsApp. I go in, I scan once a day. I no longer get the 500 million notifications in WhatsApp, which was so annoying, especially when it was you and Joe having your little tidbit fights. Meme fight, gift fight, oh. So I had to turn that off. So I still check once a day. And wouldn't you know, I got a chance to go ahead and check it out. And there's something I want to go ahead and talk to you about that you left yesterday. But here today, it is a good man indeed. He is the man from Toronto. He could get out of Toronto traffic to go ahead and stop on by, talk the NBA and Rui Hachimura. It is the Magic Man, Sean, right? Sean, great to have you here. All she wrote for Minnesota, or is there any hope left for those supporting the Timberwolves?
Gerald, I think the fat lady is putting her powder on right now.
Okay. All right.
Something tells me that I don't think Ant wants to go back and forth between Oklahoma and Minnesota for the next 4 days and think about being eliminated on your home court. So I have a feeling somehow, some way, the Thunder are going to come out with a purpose in Game 5 in front of their home crowd, and the Wolves are just going to become the puppy dogs once again, Gerald. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride, for as it seems for Minnesota again. Clutch play in the fourth quarter, Gerald. I mean, the three guys you expect were their most clutch: SGA, J Dub, and Chet Holmgren. I thought SGA played under control in the fourth quarter, Gerald. Allowed the game to come to him. I thought his three biggest assists of the night came in the fourth quarter. All three happened to be big 3-pointers. One to Chet Holmgren, the other two to J Dub. And then Chet Holmgren played a fantastic, marvelous game of both ends of the floor, Gerald, in that fourth quarter. And that's the Thunder big three that you expect to see, Gerald.
In that fourth quarter, Magic, they really didn't stop each other. Minnesota actually outscored OKC 41-38 in that fourth quarter. But the key stop you're asking for in a situation like that in the fourth game of this series, you're asking for at least one major stop. If both sides, both teams can't stop each other, there has to be just one key play that I think turns the tide just enough. And I think it was that Holmgren block on McDaniels that did it. That was just absolutely, just a fantastic block. It's what you get him for. The fact he has that kind of agility and still be able to go ahead and look like McDaniels did have the move and did have the distance on him, but no, Holmgren said not so fast. Now Holmgren gets his shot blocked very easily on the other end, but no one can fault that defensive effort, especially what he gave on that play on McDaniels.
Yeah, no, not at all, Joe. Didn't give up. It was off balance. Very observant by Doris Burke, Gerald, to point that out. That as you alluded to as well, it looked as though McDaniels had at least half a step on him to finish that play. And like you said, Holmgren said, nope, not tonight. Great recovery. And it just shows that although some scouts were hesitant to maybe give Chet his due, Gerald, I do remember on draft night you saying that, defense is his calling card and blocking shots is something that he can do formidably, and no bigger effort than tonight. That was probably the biggest shot block in Oklahoma City Thunder playoff history.
Shador, again, if you do want to go ahead and have us get you food, we can. We can provide that, make you some food. Again, $10 million, Venmo to both of our accounts, and I will Uber eat. It's not McDonald's. I'm going to correct that. I'm going to say I did El Pollo Loco tonight. I could also do Panda Express. I think that's usually available in most places around North America. So, yeah, go ahead. We're waiting on the Venmo line. Absolutely. Got you taken care of, Shador. No worries. Shador, no worries. All good, Shador. That's a good one. But this, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate you joining us. Again, Magic Mad. So it looks like in the West, The fat lady is about ready getting to sing, in your estimation. I can't say I disagree with you on that. In the East, though, kind of interesting. Nobody wants to seem to win at home. So game 4 is coming around. What is your read on that? Because absolutely no one has had the home court advantage, and I'm not even sure if that's going to be taking place throughout the rest of the series.
Yeah, I think we could throw it out the window at this point, Gerald. The home teams are 0-3 in this series. It's possible that the Pacers come out and throw a hammer down, but I just don't see it. I think they're too evenly matched for one to have just more than an arm's length advantage, unless something unforeseen happens, Gerald, an injury here or there. But I don't expect this to be nothing short of a war, because tonight, Gerald, I mean, Oklahoma City came off to me as the more desperate team tonight than Minnesota did. I got to be honest.
Agreed. Well, I mean,
So
after that 40-point shellacking, that woke up Oklahoma City. They were not prepared or ready for Game 3. They look like it, and absolutely, they played with some desperation tonight. They stayed in front, and even though they never were able to pull away from Minnesota, they were. I don't want to say they had control of the game, but they had control over their own situation. And even though they couldn't really stop Minnesota to any great degree, they knew that Minnesota couldn't do otherwise, because, and that's where we're at with game 4. That's where we're at as far as in game 4 of a series, where everybody has started to already figure everyone out. So now it's all about execution at this point.
100%, Gerald, absolutely. And on that note, I expect tomorrow night to be at like the old school WCW basher at the beach. It's gonna. I just think it's gonna be a lot of furniture moving and very highly contested basketball tomorrow night, because I mean, Gerald, if you're the Indiana Pacers, you blew a 20-point lead and you were up 2-0. I've seen this before, and and not just in this sport, in other sports, Gerald, where you're up 2-0 and you're up in game 3, and you just allow defeat to be clawed from the jaws of victory there,
Yep.
and it can swing a whole series. That game to game, there is momentum, Gerald. Let's face it, there absolutely in the playoffs there is momentum game to game, and right now it favors the Knicks. And if Indiana desperately wants to avoid uh, making this a longer series than it has to be, they need to be the more desperate team tomorrow. But as you said, will they? Because the home team hasn't shown up in this series yet at the tip.
Exactly. Exactly. So we'll definitely see what happens. But yeah, who will be the more desperate team to come tomorrow? We'll find out. And then for the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think SGA is the standard. He is the given. What his output will be is usually 30 to 40 points we're seeing in almost every playoff game. But when Jalen Williams gets you 34, that's the X factor for them. That's the kind of support that SGA needs, is that 34 from Jalen Williams, the 21 from Chet Holmgren. He gets that kind of support, and OKC is really hard to beat.
Yeah, absolutely, Gerald. It's rare that a superstar rarely needs more than one guy or two to score 20 points a night with them. But yeah, I mean, if somebody else is scoring 20 to 25, you could sure as heck count on SGA getting you between 30 and 40. And I understand what Doris Burke was trying to say, but calling him a free throw merchant, Gerald, he averaged less free throws than Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, James Harden, other MVPs I could name. I just think he's just playing to the rules, Gerald. If a leg,
Well, there's a lot of people that do that. James Harden, how long did James Harden do that and still does that to go and accentuate his game? Trae Young. You know, when they took away the swipe away rule, you know, that killed Trae Young but those guys, they live, those scores, a lot of them live at the free throw line. It's not just
no,
NBA.
100%. I will say this though: if there's a leg in the lane, or somebody has an elbow loose or so, like for example, SGA's if you want to call him a foul merchant, it reminds me a lot of somebody like Kobe Bean Bryant, who would just, if there was a leg in the lane or an elbow, I'm just going up. If somebody hits me, well, then it's an and one. I wasn't asking for it, but if you're just lazily enough to have your leg out there and I fall over it and I'm in the act of shooting, I don't think it's performative. That's what I'm trying to say, Joe. Like you said, it was more Trae Young and James Harden are more on the performative edge of trying to cajole free throws out of officials.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Magic Man Sean Grice, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. It's 3-1. OKC, 1 game away from heading to the NBA Finals. And here today to go ahead and talk about the playoffs and also Rui Hachimura as well. The subject of today's Lakers Fast Break. And a little bit of Luka Doncic, because he's looking pretty svelte there in some of those pictures we've been seeing lately on the intranet. It is, of course, Joe Soro. Joe, great to have you here. Go ahead and make sure you get his game Corrupt on Steam, Symblades, symblades.y.com, and, of course, the Joe Soro Experiment right there for on YouTube and playback. Great to have you here, Joe. Happy Memorial Day to you, my friend. Magic Man, I know you don't celebrate it in Canada, but wishing you a happy Monday as well, my friend. Wanted to go ahead. Who said ESPN? No, not ESPN, Shador. Certain members of ESPN might have said that, but not all of ESPN. Don't put blankets on the entire one, because Mike Malone got a whole bunch of flack on that. He did say Jokic was better than and was the MVP. He did correct himself on that. So yeah, that's not a correct statement, Shador. Maybe 1 or 2 members of ESPN have said that, but no. We all think that Jokic is the best player in the NBA. Joe, glad to have you here. It looks more and more like OKC is headed to the finals. This situation in the East where you have 2 teams that can't decide whether or not they want to win at home. Very interesting playoffs so far as we head closer and closer to the NBA Finals. I know you're not thrilled about watching it. I know you're not thrilled or excited about it. But still, it's been some pretty good and pretty close games for the most part so far in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, Jokic got shunned from another MVP that belongs to him. It happened in 2023 as well when the crybaby in Philly got his MVP. The MVP in the NBA has been pretty much a mockery for at least 4 decades now. From my point of view, I don't know really. I don't know what the point of. I don't know what the point of an MVP is anymore. Really, they seem to always have this criteria that says, well, they have to win. Okay, cool, and then they have to lead. Okay. And then they have to, I guess, sort of average.
Okay. Joe winking out on us. Yeah, it looks like Joe's winking at us right now. Sean, can you still hear me here?
I can hear you, Gerald. Yeah,
okay.
And and he was gonna say like you have to average anywhere from 30 to 35 points, even though Kobe did average 35 points 1 year and did not win MVP. Yeah. So I understand the road Joe is about to go down, where you can poke holes in a lot of the criteria that these voters have. I mean, it's a lot of it's arbitrary, Gerald. It's true. It's arbitrary. It's very subjective, and the subjectivity should be based on experience, and oftentimes it's not, because we know some people vote just if there's a beat writer in San Antonio, Gerald, we know he's going to vote for Castle for Rookie of the Year, or if we know
Continue, Sean. Sorry, it's Joe popping
Yeah.
back in.
no, Joe had the conch.
Yes, there you go. That's true. He had the conch. Lord of the Flies reference indeed. So, Joe, let me ask you this. Okay, again, there's no doubt in many people's mind, and Shador, no, just because Oklahoma City beat Oklahoma City. I think what you're saying, Shador, and you're getting mixed up again. SGA is not a better player than Jokic. I don't think any of those
Let me finish what I
basketball
said.
experts think.
Yeah, let me
Go
finish
ahead.
what I said.
Go ahead, Joe.
When you complicate things, this is what happens. Give the award to the best player on the planet, and you wouldn't have these problems. But you don't. But they don't want to do that. I don't know why. You gave Westbrook the MVP for the same reason you didn't give it to Jokic this year.
Because of a triple-double.
So, and then you give an MVP to James Harden, and a year later.
And
Why?
remember, Westbrook was on a 6th place team when he won, if I'm not mistaken. So Westbrook was on a 6th place team, Joe, when that happened.
Yes. So I'm confused. What? And then you don't give the MVP to Kobe in 06. You don't give the MVP to Kobe in 09. You don't give the MVP to Kobe in 2010 when he hit 7 game winners that year. 7. 3 of them were buzzer beaters. Why? And you gave it to LeBron, who played in a much weaker conference, who won what, an extra game or 2? So I don't want to sound like Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Looks like we're gonna wink out again. This is what happens when he's logged in as me. So we're going to be probably winking out here in a second. So I do apologize for that, but I understand.
I'm waiting on bated breath for that Jay-Z and Beyonce reference.
as was I, my friend, as was I. But once again, it is the Lakers fast break. I think we'll be winking out here in a second here. So stay with us, folks.
Yep.
And we're back. Yes, as
I couldn't even count to 5.
The thing is, he's logged in.
Yeah, okay, Joe. He's
logged in as me.
That's enough, Joe.
He's logged in as me, and whatever issues he's having is going to take us out with it, because he's logged in as me. So, and he's already logged out again. So
yeah, he would not appreciate somebody grabbing a photo of what he just looked like.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll probably be doing it again. So I apologize for that. We're losing half our audience here, but in doing so, yeah, exactly. So again, it is of course OKC, just one game away from going to the NBA Finals. It is right now 2-1. Indiana leading. Joe, hopefully you're with us, my friend. Okay.
We were all here.
We were waiting on bated breath for that Jay-Z and Beyonce line. Oh, we're waiting on that one.
Okay, so, and I thought about that when I was complaining about the MVP the last few years. First of all, I use that comparison just for context purposes. Everyone thinks that this is this award really means something? Why do you give a damn? Why
and Joe, so people understand what the reference was. Jay-Z's never won a Grammy. That's basically
and I don't think Beyonce's never won an album of the year, all that stuff. But for me, an Emmy or a Grammy are not real. Like, they're awards that are like, okay.
But
whatever.
She has more Grammys than anyone, I believe.
Yeah, she's already won a Grammy. These guys win like 14. Like Michael Jackson won 9 Grammys one year. Like, to me, that's not really an award. People win daytime Emmys. They win local Emmys. I'm like, Emmy isn't. You remember that scene in
Sports
Sopranos? Sean, remember when what's his name wanted to pawn it off so he could pay Chrissy his money.
Yeah,
He's like,
JT,
maybe an
yeah.
Oscar, but an Emmy. You know, so an NBA MVP is to me the
Yeah, I'll
most.
give you $500.
Yeah, to me the NBA MVP is probably the most valuable MVP in the main sports. Because it is singular usually for a player in basketball. There's a singular guy. It's 5 guys only on a team. It isn't 11 on one side, 11 on the other side, or a baseball team with 26 players that can play in a day, and then they have like a 40-man roster. So Jokic, imagine Jokic's career. Imagine him now being compared, and he might still be compared, but imagine him being a 5-time MVP in a row. That changes his. You are now going to have to put him next to somebody that you never thought in a billion years.
He would be in the top 5. You'd have to put him in the top 5 centers of all time.
There's no doubt he'd be a top 5 player, and he might have knocked Shaq out.
He probably would have knocked Shaq out.
Now let's go back to that real quick. If Shaq wins the MVP 3 years in a row, like I said he should have, and he would have won more if he gave a damn, but in those 3 years, he was the best guy. He was the most valuable player in the NBA, and there's no to me. You're not going to be able to get around it. More valuable than AI, more valuable than Duncan. I don't care what anybody says. So now that changes his career. All this stuff about is Kareem or Shaq? Like we've had that discussion, and Kareem might have been the one player in my life in sports, only guy that wasn't on my teams that I actually really, really, really was like a favorite, could be considered a favorite player. I don't have really any favorite players outside my teams typically, but Hakeem was the guy that was the closest. So to say that Kareem was better than Shaq in its current state, there's an argument there. But if Shaq has 3 MVPs in a row, there isn't an argument anymore. It's just there isn't. So Shai Gilgeous is a very, very good player. He's very good. It's too early to call him great, but I'm sorry, but I've never felt like he's an MVP. To me, I just don't see MVP. I don't see it.
Go ahead, Magic.
Well, I was just gonna say, Gerald. So let's plot this out a little bit. Let's play a little game here, Gerald. Next 7 years, okay? How many MVPs does Shai Gilgeous-Alexander win?
Maybe
And
one
then-
more.
Because you
Maybe
got a league now with him, Luka Doncic, Victor Wembanyama. You also have Anthony Edwards, who's coming on. So you have.
And don't forget Jokic. Just
And
still being
Jokic is probably 2 years, 3 years, still in his prime. So that's 5 guys right there competing for the MVP regularly for the next at least 3 of those guys for the next 7 years, regularly competing for the MVP.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens. But again, that's our thoughts. Again, the best player right now on the planet is Jokic.
Because
I don't think anybody, any NBA expert really can't say otherwise. Just because OKC beat Denver does not make SGA a better player than Jokic. And I don't think anybody from ESPN would say that with a straight face, Shador. And if somebody actually did, they're just saying it to get clicks. They know the truth. They know the truth. John?
100%, Gerald. 100%.
Does anybody take ESPN seriously anymore, though? Are they really?
Well, there's a Gerald. It's just, there's a vacuum with them and the having a lot of the oxygen on social media and narrative building. So yeah, I think that in a way I agree with you, Joe, but I also see Gerald's point.
Once again,
who's credible these days in the main areas of sports analyzing?
That's tough because if somebody does come out with whatever thought, report, or what have you, there's going to be 10 people online. For every report you get, there's 10, 100,000 people online that's going to criticize you. Could be the most 100% correct thing in the world. But now these days in social media or just in the comments, like for instance, Joe, if you say something that is 100% absolutely irrefutably correct, but it's still such a statement or comment or analysis that people will find aggravating, even though, again, it is 100% irrefutably correct, they will still go ahead and roast you online. They'll still roast you in the comments, roast me in the comments, roast Sean in the comments. Doesn't matter if it's 100% correct or not. These days, it's so hard to be a legitimate legacy, even whether it's legacy media or even a new media type thing. It's so hard these days, Joe, to be an outlet that the majority of people trust, because there's so much divisiveness, so much tribalism.
You think it's
so
too much? There's too much content.
I think the only two left it's in that vein in the NBA, Joe, are Tim Legler and Zach Lowe.
Well, Zach Lowe got fired for it,
and he's not even affiliated with ESPN anymore.
Yeah.
So.
The other problem is it's just it's saturated. There's
not
too much.
He's with Bill Simmons.
There's too much, and Bill Simmons is kind of this whiny, just kind of girl about things, and I don't what kind of following. He's got good timing. He's been in it 30 years. He's built his. He's like that one guy that's been the Wrestling Observer guy.
Oh, Dave Meltzer.
Yeah, he's like Meltzer. Meltzer could hang upside down and with his nuts in his face and talk about wrestling, and people are going to listen at this point. He's been doing it 50 years.
But people are also going to hate him now, no more than ever, because his views, as much as I've respected his opinion over the years, his views in recent years have come into much more question now that we live in a more, like you said, too much content, so much content. Age.
So yeah, and you've noticed Hulk Hogan's being hated now because apparently he's been a diva from 50 years ago as well.
I think that's based on his previous comments and actions
because he's a liar.
And he's said racist language.
No, I think this whole this thing with the MVP.
Joe enjoys it. He enjoys calling people. He enjoys it.
I think the word's Bubba the Love Sponge. I think
the MVP. The good thing is the MVP thing has been an issue even when SportsCenter and ESPN were at their peaks. So it's not just that. There's this. People have always been the same. I just think we know about it more now. And I noticed it since 93. And maybe it was because that was right when I was getting into the thick of things and growing a brain around it. But I don't understand how you pick Charles Barkley 93 over Jordan, how you pick Karl Malone over Michael in 97. Like that always weirded me out. And then
but then, see, it's like you said, you can have the correct statement that you made, but then there's always someone out there, like Nick T. says, well, Gerald, I agree, but what if Shea didn't play defense like Jokic? Maybe he'll be even better. I'm not even, and then he added on to that. Would Jokic or Luka be themselves if they actually played defense?
When you go back and look at MVPs of the league, best players of all time, how many of them are actually two-way players?
I can only think of 3.
I'm not talking about centers. Centers don't count because they stand back and block shots.
I can only think of 3.
Okay, Kobe.
Yes.
LeBron.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Now you have Pippen in there, but he couldn't close in 94.
I would say he's like a 1B, yeah.
And he never was an MVP.
You could say to some degree maybe a Gary Payton, but see, Pippen and GP were never fully MVP type players. Pippen was in '94 for a minute, but not really. He wasn't going to beat Hakeem in '94 anyways, even if he had played amazing above what he did. So in our lifetime, because that's the only thing I can base it off of, right? In our lifetime, the 3 two-way players that are MVPs are Michael Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron. So this constant BS about, well, this guy didn't play defense, and this guy didn't. Well, who's played defense? Nash won back-to-back MVPs. He was notoriously bad on defense. So when you're talking about right and wrong is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. The opinion.
Hold on, Shador. Harden, Steph, and Magic are not good on defense. Steph, of the 3, Steph is probably the most adequate on defense. But yeah, Magic and Harden. So much as I love Magic, a 6'8" guard who on shaky knees was not going to be able to guard any smaller guard. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't remember Clyde Drexler making any all defensive teams either.
I don't remember him getting an MVP.
And he wasn't an MVP. The wrong or right is irrelevant. If it's something that's fact, then it doesn't matter if you think it's bad. It's irrelevant at that point. What we're talking about right now is something that we kept hearing with Luka. Luka doesn't guard. Luka doesn't do this. Luka doesn't do that. I go, well, okay. What do you want Luka to be LeBron? You want Luka to be Kobe or Jordan? I'm sorry. As much as I love Luka, he's never going to be those guys.
He has a different makeup.
The other discussion I've had, and I've had this not enough on the show, but I've had it outside the show because I do have California roots up north and all that. I said, I don't care what you say in a million years. This is what confuses people because they look at me as not really a LeBron supporter. I go, supporting LeBron has nothing to do with common sense to me. No, at his peak, Steph Curry at his peak has never been better than LeBron James. Never. I don't care if you sit there and you cry in a ditch, threatening to drown yourself in it. It's never happened. And he never will. There's no argument there. LeBron is the player of the 2010 to 2020 generation, and there's no one even close. Not Durant, not Westbrook, and not Curry. I'm sorry. LeBron owns that decade, and he's owned it. And if he had won MVPs every year in that decade, there's an argument for it. So Kawhi Leonard is another guy that might have been able to win an MVP. But see, that's the point, is it has to be perfect for somebody like Kawhi to win an MVP. It has to be perfect for someone like Pippen to win an MVP. It's kind of like how Shai Gilgeous won the MVP this year. Had to be perfect. Yeah. But what I'm talking about is the guys that are like notorious. They're perennial. Those guys are rare. Guys like Jokic are rare. Guys like LeBron are rare. And Tim Duncan is a big, so you can't really put him in there either. It's an argument that probably just much like the LeBron versus Jordan, Kobe versus Jordan.
Well, let's put it simply like this: if the Nuggets, let me ask you this, Joe. Nuggets win 60 games this year, because I always said to you during the course of the season, that's why I picked SGA in the first place, because I predicted them to win the West, and the narrative was just going to be towards SGA. That's why I picked SGA as my MVP. If the Nuggets had won 60 games and Jokic has those video game numbers, it's a different conversation, isn't it, Joe?
It's sad that you might look. There's team awards for a reason. We're talking about the National Basketball Association's most valuable player. Read that and tell me what it says. It says the NBA's most valuable player.
Yeah, I'm still sick over the 04 MVP voting when fucking Peja Stojakovic finished fourth over Kobe. How are you going to vote Peja Stojakovic MVP over Kobe Bryant?
That one I can explain.
Because they hated him.
Colorado.
Yes.
Colorado was the killer on that one. And
yes. No, I can understand, Joe. I can understand Tim Duncan and Jermaine O'Neal being ahead of you, but not Peja Stojakovic.
Oh boy, we're gonna go into the rabbit hole here.
That's baloney, Joe. That's baloney.
The incident in Colorado
Because
derailed.
Kobe finished ahead of Shaq. You voted you put Peja Stojakovic ahead of Kobe and Shaq. You dump truck fucking morons. Joe, these are what you see when Joe talks about brain dead slobs. I live in a country where I don't see a lot of those. But when he says brain dead slobs and I'm looking at this voting, Gerald, that's who the man's talking about, brain dead slobs.
And it's important to say this because it's part of the credibility. It doesn't matter if you don't like someone. It should never, if that creeps into your voting and your excuse is, oh, I got to go to bed at 11 while the games are going on in the West, you should not have a vote. You should not have a vote if you're voting for somebody that you're not watching. And these guys that are on ESPN or whatever channels or whatever these guys are doing online, are they watching the games? At least observe the game to some degree. The guys that do play-by-play, you listen to somebody like Chris Collinsworth. Chris Collinsworth gets bashed every week, every day, every time I hear anybody here. Anytime you're online, you see Chris Collinsworth, he's bashed. But you know what? You know what Chris Collinsworth does that a lot of people don't realize? Every time I watch a telecast with Chris Collinsworth, he knows shit that he has no business knowing. I'm like, how the fuck did he know that?
The useless factoids.
Yeah. I'm like, how the hell did he know at Latrobe that this was going on and this is what happened? Like, what the fuck? How the hell did he know that? He was doing shit for the Jets Miami game 2 weeks ago. How the hell did he know that happened?
He's like the Sheldon Cooper of jocks. Like
that right there is why Chris Collinsworth has a job, because he knows more than you. He knows 100 times more than you. And that in the end matters. That's the only thing that matters. And most of us on this channel right now, we know 90% more than all of you. Because number one, you guys weren't even alive when we registered this shit. And on top of that, the shit that we weren't alive with, we know. We studied it. We keep it in our heads. I can prove it. I know every MVP in the finals. I know every MVP in the Super Bowl. Shit, I knew hockey like the hair on my hand.
We literally did a show where we went from 1980 to present with like.
We went through a show where we talked about what teams had a star that was not really like a superstar that won it the last time, right? We talk about the 04 Pistons. Before then, there was an argument that the 79 Supersonics didn't really have a star because the 78 team that won when they were the Bullets, the Wizards, they had Wes Unseld. That guy won the freaking MVP and the Rookie of the Year the same year. So these are things that over time, not only are you registering it because you've been observing and watching so long, but guess what? We have the internet the last 30 plus years at our disposal, and now you can go online and oh, what happened then? But then again, what's the whole point of doing a show if you don't know your shit? But is that what people want, Gerald and Sean? Do they really want that? Or do they just want a bunch of people yapping about garbage? Because that's what they like. That's why I get very aggressive. Like that's why I get aggressive. And maybe I'm being stubborn. And maybe it's never going to happen. Are we going to get a little bit of those guys that really want good information with some entertainment, obviously? Do they really want that, or they want to keep looking at the Nick Wrights and the Skip Baylesses who regurgitate used puke day in and day out? That's always the question I ask myself before I get on the show. What the fuck am I doing here? Like, is this you guys don't want to know this? People out there, or maybe people don't know.
Bayless got exposed pretty badly a few nights ago, Joe.
It doesn't matter though. He's already entrenched in the culture of sports, where there has been the discussion has been
him and a lot of other legacy people have lost their juice though, Joe.
And that happens. That happens. In a weird way, the guys like Jim Rome, guys like Colin Cowherd, they still have an audience. But I've always felt there's a shelf life to this thing. Because after a while, it starts to sound just redundant. Your delivery is the same. It's just different. I think it's a different culture from 2000 to 2020 and beyond. So I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just like a novelist, someone who writes those novels, those love novels. People just love it. They'll just keep coming back and listening to it or reading it. Sorry.
So it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Thanks so much again for watching and listening. Please like and subscribe. Go ahead and make sure you're checking us out on a regular basis, because we're going to keep coming at you with some great shows over the course of the summer months. Don't forget, in June, NBA Draft, getting close to free agency, as the free agency starts right there at the smack dab of beginning of July. So we'll be knee deep in it as we go ahead and talk what the Lakers can and end up doing right here for you at the Lakers Fast Break. But before we head on out and before we talk about Luka, pictures online are showing some things, as I just said to our community right here in the comments. Magic Man posted something the other day. Gerald, Rui is objectively an elite shooter in the playoffs. Rob needs to get a haul for trading Rui and Reeves. So, Magic, what was this in reference to? Did I say something, or was I quoted something, or was this based off our other show the other day that had us all as the Lakers GM?
Yes, that I think that's where it was coming from, Gerald, and it wasn't just directed at you. It's more directed towards the Lakers fans. Look, I know some people Rui's not the cup of tea for whatever reason.
Oh yeah, I even saw throughout the playoffs that somebody would make an update, or McMahon would make an update.
He's our whipping boy. He's the whipping boy for the Lakers.
Can we get rid of
online?
Rui?
Yes, Rui. So every team has to have a whipping boy, and Rui has become the whipping boy for the Lakers, even though it is objectively true that he is a high volume, high quality shot making tweener in the playoffs, Gerald. He has objectively, over the past 3 playoffs, made strides in hitting open threes, and that is very valuable in the NBA, and it's very valuable in the playoffs. Let's see, Gerald. There was another perimeter player that could hit the open three, and the Lakers happened to trade him too. Now, I do remember you got Russell Westbrook as part of that trade, but do you think you wanted KCP back just for maybe one more year, Gerald? With that shooting?
One more year, because it started to go south.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his last good year was the Denver title year.
So again, here's the question: given Rui's age and his productivity, Gerald, do you think he's plateaued, or do you think he can get go another level up?
Well, during the regular season, you and I have both agreed on this, because Rui, during the regular season. We're not talking playoffs because you made a great point on playoffs, and I looked up his stats on Basketball Reference, and again, when he's given the opportunity in the playoffs, he's played pretty good for the most part. In fact, even the Minnesota, he was probably one of the best players because he gave effort on both sides of the ball. Regular season, it's an up and down roller coaster. You wonder why this guy will score 20 something, get 3-4 threes in a game, get you 7 rebounds, 20 points and 7 rebounds, something like that. And then the next day he'll get 5. That was his MO. That's the reason why Washington traded him for a cup of coffee in the first place, was the fact that he is so inconsistent. I mean, I always mention it. The two games he played before he was traded to the Lakers, 0 and 30. 0 and 30. And they were both fully played games. He wasn't hurt, wasn't injured. No, just 0 and 30. So that's what you were getting during the regular season. It's obvious he is more focused. He's one of those players that is just more focused when it matters the most. So you can only expect so much of him on both ends, because we talk about the defense, how he just looks like he's too slow to guard threes, and he's not big enough to guard fours. Somehow in the playoffs, he seems to just put things together a little bit more. That being said, we always talk about Austin, and in the past couple of weeks, we've focused in on Austin, the fact that he can opt out in the summer, next summer, and become a free agent, and literally walk away for nothing, if that's the case. I know that JSJ was commenting, oh, I hear that Reeves is going to stay, Reeves is going to be part. Well, that's the rhetoric they're giving you. But before you go ahead and you quote the LeBron page and also Lakers Nation as Bible for these rumors, we don't know what's actually going to go on with Austin. Are you going to lose him for nothing? The same thing can be said for Rui, because in the summer of 2026, Joe, they could lose him for nothing. So how much do you value Rui? How much value do you think he'll get? Magic Man pointed out some very good points as far as what he does in the playoffs. The problem is, Joe, where do you evaluate him as a player, and whether or not you want to retain him or utilize him for asset or multiple assets down the road?
This will depend on the LeBron closure. The Lakers have to make a decision there before I can assess what needs to be saved. Rui had his best playoff series in his Laker career, from my view. Austin maybe will have a good one next year. Maybe. Lakers have some room to make some decisions here on those guys. So I'm not too worried about Rui or Austin. I think what's going to happen with those two is, if they get a deal that makes sense, meaning if they get like a third guy, like a star, they'll ship those guys out immediately. But if they're not getting a legitimate difference maker, I don't see those guys going anywhere. And they really don't have to, if they can find a partner that really needs to move a contract for expiring contracts, which the Lakers have a lot of besides Rui and Reeves, which is why I had been suggesting DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton is kind of in that sweet spot of, he's not a star. He's playing in Portland, which Portland's like, maybe, no, can we? You need a center, and he's a good one, despite his personality. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff that we're going to probably find out about come summertime. They're not going to go get a third star that's like a Giannis, because the Lakers don't have enough to acquire him, unless he was adamant about going to LA and saying, if you don't send me to LA, I'm not going to sign an extension with the team you send me to. But I just don't see Giannis doing that to Milwaukee, because Milwaukee's been very good to him. So the Lakers have to make that first decision is, are you going to go Luka now, or are you going to continue to allow the LeBron solar system to be hovering around? And I can't make an assessment until that's done. I can't really figure out. Oh well, let's. Like I feel like everybody's trying to tell Rui and Austin who they are, or people are and they're overvaluing those guys at the same time. Like, well, which one is it? You want to? What are you trying to get here? Oh, Austin sucked in the playoffs. We need to go get a star and trade Austin Reeves for him. Well, what? Which one is it? If Austin had played like a star in these playoffs and the Lakers ended up winning it all, sure. But then why would you trade him, right? It's like a catch-22.
And the thing is, Stainless, he's going back to what we talked about on the trade show. If we controlled the Lakers organization about Kessler only has $3 million. You can't trade Hachimura or Reeves unless he specifically wants it. Then you've got to get other players involved. It can't be just for Kessler, because Kessler, money-wise, it doesn't add up. So you're going to have to think about what players, if the Lakers really want Kessler and call about Kessler, it's going to have to be for Kessler. And, we mentioned Jordan Clarkson, but, fill in the blank on who else. If that's only if, Sean, that
Gerald
Danny really wants Hachimura or Reeves, which I don't really see that happening for a team that's really going to be tanking for next season as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, Gerald, I mean, if you want to deal with Danny Ainge, you go right ahead and do that. But he reminds me a lot of that movie Nothing But Trouble. Oh yeah, you got the beautiful winery over here where I'll give you Walker Kessler. But now we're going to go over to the left to the junkyard where Little Devil and Bobo are waiting to give you their junk. So whatever their junk is, Lauri Markkanen. I mean, John Collins isn't junk. He's a decent player, but that contract and what he is junk, Gerald. And then you've got overpaid Lauri Markkanen. So I mean, there are a lot. Yeah, there are a lot of red flags and should be loud beeps going off if you're dealing with the Utah Jazz and you're asking for Walker Kessler.
That's not a Grant level bad. I think Grant, if you're asking me off the top of my head, I think the Grant contract in Portland is the worst one that's out there, guys. But Markkanen, with that, when he signed that extension, that essentially locked him out from being traded.
I would say Beal.
That's a top five.
I would say Beal is the worst contract.
But is that on the last year? Is he on the last year?
I'm pretty sure he is.
Then it's not as bad as you think now.
Well, I mean, it's still bad.
But it's expiring.
I mean,
you can't trade him because he's got no
trade
clause.
I mean, you're.
Are you talking about Bradley Beal?
You're talking. Yeah. You're making.
No. He's got a player option.
You're making. Yeah, he's got a player option. Yeah. He's got. You're talking about a player who makes $60 million who puts up Tony Snell numbers.
Nick T, I already made a deal. I talked with Vari about this at Sports.
People are saying, "Who the hell? Sure, Magic Man. Who the hell is Tony Snell?" Exactly.
There's a
Tony
trade.
Snell is.
There's a trade you could do with the Knicks.
Yeah, I know you do.
With McBride, Robinson, and Bridges for the Lakers expiring. But
there's no way in hell they do that.
They're not going to see. They're not going to, and that would include Rui and
McBride and Bridges. Oh God, no! I wish.
And Robinson.
Yeah, no, I wish Worldwide West was some wonderful drug, and we did manage to get that, but no.
Beal's up there, Grant's up there, and now
Markkanen, they're the three worst, yes.
Yeah. But Joe, let me bring it back to you. So the same questions that we ask about Austin Reeves are the same questions you ask about Rui. So let's say, okay, we're going to keep our core, not sending any lessons or not trying to get any lessons about trying to really get some high level depth and not just adding one player. The Lakers are only 5 deep. We saw in the playoffs, they can only count on 5 players at this point in time. And DFS is kind of, your mileage may vary on that one on the offensive end. So I will say this, okay, so you don't want to, if you don't get rid of Rui and you don't get rid of Austin, that's a problem because now you run the risk if you do not trade them by the trade deadline, they both can walk as free agents. Joe, are you willing to risk that as far as keeping both?
Well, they're not going to want to leave if they're getting more money as a Laker. They're going to first wait for the bigger money next year when their contract runs out. Lakers
But
have
they'll
their
be
bird rights.
unrestricted, so they'll be
Yeah, but they have their bird rights where they can only sign a 4-year contract outside of LA. I'm honestly not thinking about Rui whether if LeBron is not signed to an extension, if next year is the last official obligation for the Lakers to keep paying LeBron, and it happens to be Austin Reeves and Rui leaving as well, you don't think somebody else is going to come sign? I believe there will be. I'm not too worried. As much as I enjoy Austin Reeves and Rui's game when they're on, I don't really think those guys are role players. They're role players on a really, really good competing team, a legitimate title contender. But they're not really the starters that go, whoa, man, that's the guy you really need.
But they're very unique. They have unique skill sets, and particularly Rui shooting when he's wide open is valuable, especially to teams in the playoffs. Because Joe, we saw what happened immediately. What happened when KCP got traded to the Wizards? Kelvin Booth instantly picked up the phone and said, "Give me KCP. What do you want?"
That's why, because you look at that team that won in 2023. You look at how that team was structured. Why was KCP so valuable in 2020? Why was he so valuable in 2023? So let's go over that real quick now that you brought it up. KCP in 2020, I remember vividly, distinctively, how irritated Laker fans were when he went into his slumps during the year.
He was our whipping boy.
Yes.
He was the Rui back then.
Right. But when he was on, he was on. But see, this is where it becomes a benefit for the Lakers. That team had LeBron in a much more prime area. You had AD in his prime, at his peak, probably prime. You had a Rondo who had his last ridiculously good year, which is crazy to say that considering there's some games he didn't even play. But the guy had a shot. The guy was making shots that I had never seen him make, even when he was in his prime. So you had that. Then you had guys like Kuzma who really stepped up on defense. Really stepped up on defense when we started realizing he wasn't going to be that Rashard Lewis type player where you could set him in the corner and let him shoot threes when he's open, right? That's just not what he turned into. But he made himself a really good team defender. Great. Used his size. Everything was great. Then you had Caruso. This hidden gem, this
homegrown.
If there's ever been an X factor on a title team, and you're seeing it again here with Oklahoma City. If you ever saw one, that was the guy. A guy that could hit a timely three. The guy that understood team ball, didn't get in the way of anything. And I don't know if you guys saw the quote he had today about the G League. It was a very good quote about how the mentality of the G League and the kind of the two-way philosophy of what the NBA has turned itself into the last decade, and how the guys that are in the G League think that the teams are looking for a CFO when they're looking for the janitor, right? They're not looking for CFO. CFOs only get picked in the top 5 usually.
Uh-huh.
They're looking for the Carusos in those development two-way G League setups. So you have that kind of guy who's brilliant, who can play, who can hit timely shots. You found them in the scraps. And you have him, you have Kuzma, you have Rondo, you have LeBron, and you have AD, and then, oh, by the way, we have KCP over here. Now imagine if you have 5 guys that valuable in their areas, and then you put in Rui, and then you put in Austin in there. Now their game goes to a different level. Now their importance is more important because people are sitting here destroying Austin Reeves. I know what I'm looking at. The guy doesn't have the physical tools to keep up with those athletes. We said this before the series started. He doesn't have the physical attributes to do what you think he needs to do. Oh, well, he was doing this and this and that in the regular season. No one gives a shit about the regular season. No one gives a shit, including the players. You saw the athleticism difference, and it matters in the playoffs. So, I am not concerned. I am not going to, let's say we fast forward it to next summer, and Austin Reeves and Rui go elsewhere. I'm not going to go, oh my God, we're through. Just being honest. It'll suck for continuity purposes. I would like to look at this from a continuity aspect. Can we keep these guys happy? Can we keep the same team here the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years? Sure. I would prefer to keep Rui, sign him, prefer to keep Austin and sign him for continuity purposes. But the Lakers are notorious for not doing that the last 15 years. They just don't do it. They just want stars. And they're going to have to make a decision very, very quickly here on how they want to approach the next run. That has to happen first before you can really understand what needs to be done next.
Once again, it is the Lakers fast break, which I'm with Sean. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, no, Gerald, I was just gonna point this out, and I love that this is happening because this is, and I love JY. It has nothing to do with JY, but this is a perfect opportunity to show an example of casuals versus the people who actually watch this sport for a living and know what they're talking about. So Jalen Williams, Jalen Williams is nicknamed J-Dub. That's what his nickname is. J-Will is Jalen, I-N, Williams. Now, this is how you know people who cover this sport, scout this sport, report on the sport, know the difference. And it's just something simple like that gives me a window in and I was just speaking to Joe about people's credibility. Skip Bayless was talking about J Will as in Jalen Williams, E-N, but that's not his nickname. So you got found out for the hoser you are and the poser that you are, right? Because this guy for years talked about being how a huge Spurs fan, right, Gerald?
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You get found out.
So, what the thing with JY is in there asking about we need high level wing play. Yes, every team in the NBA needs high level wing play. that's not a secret. That's not a secret at all.
Well, Gerald, I will say this: I think if Jalen Williams keeps playing like this, he's earned the right to seek trying to be a superstar on another team.
He needs to be consistent. That Denver series.
Oh, he was consistent. He was consistent tonight.
Tonight's great. Yes,
Gerald. If so, OKC is blessed in the fact that for whatever reason, Gerald, 9 times out of 10, if SGA doesn't have it in the fourth quarter, Jalen Williams does.
Yeah,
you know who he reminds me a lot of, Gerald?
Who's that?
A more athletic two-way Vinny Johnson, microwave Vinny Johnson. He can get hot really quickly on the offensive end, and he still has the motor defensively.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's been playing well in this series. Absolutely, just looking forward to seeing what he can do. But definitely want to see what OKC is going to do as they get closer to the NBA Finals. But getting back to Rui Hachimura, Joe, again, the Lakers have very limited assets. I know that you want to trade for DeAndre Ayton. I'm not going to say I would agree or disagree with you on that. Again, if he gets his head on straight, DeAndre Ayton can be a continuous double-double guy for us. Portland, they need to just clear house. They need to get rid of Simons, Ayton, and they need to get rid of Grant. Nobody will touch that Grant contract. So have him coming off the bench because they have 5 young guys they need to start right now. They don't need those other guys, so they need to go ahead and make some type of maneuver at some point in time in the not too distant future. So the Lakers could take advantage of it with DeAndre Ayton. As what you're saying, it's what you're looking at. If you were to make a big deal about it, you're saying that the Lakers can do it with enough assets. Do they have enough assets? Because they only have 2 expiring after Rui and Austin. They only have 2 expiring. Major expiring, over $10 million. Shake has a non-guaranteed for the next 2 seasons that don't get guaranteed until July 20th or something like that. So we'll have to see if he gets picked up. And I'm just not sure you're not going to be able to avoid, if you want to make any trades for a wing player, for a shooting guard with better D, a 2-way player, or a center without giving up Rui and or Austin this summer, Joe. I don't know if you could avoid it. I really don't know if you could avoid it.
No, you wouldn't. Probably not. But there is a uniqueness in this offseason in that because of the aprons for the first year of it being an issue, that I believe there's going to be a lot of trades so that people can avoid getting into those areas. So it might not be, no one's going to help the Lakers. Though the benefit in having this system might be the fact that look what happened with the Luka trade. That seems to have maybe been one of the issues. They didn't want to pay. I believe the story that they didn't want to pay him $350 million and then any other story. All the other, weight issues, beer issues, whatever
Luka issues,
whatever the stupid comments on the tabloids were. I think the one that makes the most sense is I don't think they wanted to pay him $350 million.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, Lakers have a history of going above and beyond even the luxury tax area so that they can win championships. However, we know that the second apron unlocks essentially a hard cap. And you're not able to do so many other things, so it's not going to necessarily be the same. However, the Lakers have another year to have to go after this because they have LeBron James on that team, and they have to appease Luka and his people. Are you serious about winning? Lakers have shown that they've always been serious about winning. They haven't done it well with the new regime a lot, but they made up a lot of ground in doing the Luka trade. So how this plays out, there's 2 players that are on my list. One is a little bit of a fantasy, getting Kessler and not giving up depth, which would mean they would have to get multiple teams, whether it's another team or 2 teams, to get that deal done so that Ainge can get the assets that he wants from draft picks. And then the DeAndre Ayton pick has nothing to do with the fact that I want DeAndre Ayton on this team. It's who is likely to be available and who is likely to eat a little bit of a bad deal to get him off their books. And he's one of them.
And now he is expiring, so it is enticing for Portland to go ahead and do a Brooklyn and just let him run his time out, Joe.
Correct. And that is somebody who has just look at it this way. I think I asked you guys this on the last show. Insert DeAndre Ayton at center this playoff run. How different would the run have been?
And good question.
I remember very, very vividly, and I might be wrong here. And again, I'm not watching every Portland Trailblazer game. I wasn't watching every Phoenix Suns game. The only time I heard DeAndre Ayton being a problem was when Phoenix didn't want to pay him the max. Doesn't that sound familiar, guys? Don't you notice that anytime there's something not working around ownership and a player, all of a sudden you start hearing the negative coming out of media people? Oh, DeAndre Ayton doesn't do this. Oh, DeAndre did. It's the same shit. It's a smear campaign. Ever since then, because I never heard a damn thing. And by the way, since people don't remember, you remember what DeAndre Ayton did to the Lakers in 2020, right? Whooped our ass.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. You know why he was whooping our ass? He was getting the ball fed to him right in his sweet spots. You don't think Luka can do that for DeAndre Ayton? You don't think DeAndre Ayton in his contract year is going to play his ass off? This is all about It's a tactician thing. This is a tactical decision. You want a guy that's motivated. Nothing motivates a player more than an expiring contract, right? And then on top of that, you need that player. You need that position to be filled. And there's a chance that the people that have him are willing to make a deal that will probably benefit you more in that deal so that they can go on with whatever they want to do. But ideally, I'd love to get Kessler because now you get that young center, right? And then you don't have to give up your assets, your expiring, your big contract guys. Like
you're just giving up swaps. You're just giving up swaps
and just get somebody in there that you'll probably end up signing on a bigger contract anyways because he will be part of the future. You've got your center position solidified. You'll have your point guard solidified. You'll have depth with Rui and Austin solidified. Then all you got to do is get one more star once LeBron is gone. And now you have a team. Now you have 5 legit guys on your team at that point that are like, all right, we got 3 solid guys, 2 more stars, and then you have 2 other guys that are kind of going to play better roles in that kind of a setup versus.
And you could have called him on his shit when you pick up that phone. You could have called him on his shit. Call his bluff. Hey, Danny. You've been trying to tank for 5 years, and what's it got you? What do you have to show for it, Danny?
But I think he's looking to get Cameron Boozer, Sean.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is what I'm saying. But Gerald, thank you, Gerald. This is what I'm saying. You have what you've got to show for it. You haven't won it yet, so you got to bottom out beyond what you've already been doing. See, your rich billionaire buddy owns a hockey team too. That hockey team might make the playoffs before the Jazz do, Gerald.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be funny though if next year they get Cam Boozer? Just the irony and all that. That would be laughable. That'd be laughable, just like they planned it. But yeah, right now they do. Ainge has not done a great job since.
Well, we know Rob Pelinka won't be representing Cameron Boozer, Gerald.
Yeah, exactly. Danny Ainge, Xbox. Danny Ainge. Yeah, Chris says, Joe, you got me excited now. So we'll see. Again, but before we head on out, for all the Luka haters out there, this section is for you. You guys, and rightly so, talked about Luka's weight. I mean, again, as Joe said, did Dallas want to commit $350 million to someone who was not seemingly staying true to their sport, true to their team, true to their commitment to the team, because he was constantly doing things off the field or off the court that were not conducive for him staying in absolutely tip-top shape, or as JJ put it, championship shape. So, Magic Man, I'll start with you. Recent pictures, whether you were watching it out on the internet, whether you're watching on Twitter, whether you're seeing it on LeBron Wire, whether you're seeing it on Lakers Nation, ESPN, what have you, seem to suggest that someone's been trying to go ahead and shed some of that stuff out a little bit, some of that weight out a little bit. So he looks substantially thinner, does Luka Doncic? Your thoughts on that? Is this something he's going to sustain? Is this something that moving forward can be something that the Luka haters can no longer latch themselves onto? Is this something for that Lakers fans and Luka fans can hold on to, the fact that he is going to be more committed going forward?
All great questions, Gerald. The first, I mean, yeah, he did look trimmed down, so that was good. You know, you should be. I mean, been out of the playoffs for about 4.5 weeks, so he had a lot of time to shed about 15 or 20 pounds from what I saw, Gerald. So we're gonna see. It's his diet, right? That's where a lot of this comes into play, is the diet. I we're going to find out, like, in Texas, Gerald. You know what Texas is like. It's a lot of barbecue, a lot of sauces, a lot of big portions. Everything's bigger in Texas, and he ate like it too.
Unless you're
So
going to Whataburger, and I'm sorry, shout out to Whataburger. You know your portions are kind of small at Whataburger. I'll just say that in Texas, and I'll just leave it at that. But they do have other places there that had large servings, and I'll just
yeah,
so.
got prime rib cuts, like about this thick.
I think
Yeah,
the 72-ounce steak that I saw, yeah, that was
I might go for that. If I was in Texas, I might go for that. But anyway, he's in LA. I mean, Gerald, I mean, you know, you've got some of the with the a lot of the people living in Los Angeles in that 30-mile zone. Yeah, 1% of the best nutritionists in the world think somebody wouldn't want to have Luka Doncic as a client potentially, and have a Rolodex ready for other clients who see the kind of work you put in with them. But we're going to find out, Jill. It's strictly up to Luka. It's up to him. You know, if he wants to continue to drink Slurpees from 7-Eleven while listening to the Migos and going to Five Guys, that's on him. But I mean, he still shows up and gives you like 33, 8 and 8 though. Can you really, like, what are you gonna say to that? You know, it was all like,
play more defense.
yeah,
Play
no,
more defense.
it was a lot like when Anthony Mason for the Knicks would give you 14, 7, and 7 in 22 minutes. Like, what else do you want? He's 6'5", 300 pounds. Like, that's pretty good. Like, what you're asking from Luka is you're asking for perfection in an imperfect world, in an imperfect sport, and I don't expect that. I hopefully, Gerald, I'm glad he's playing with Slovenia this summer, because that means he's coming into camp already in basketball shape. You don't have to be concerned about that. He's already in shape. So, I mean, you'd be looking at hopefully a Luka that's ahead of the competition rather than in line with them.
So before we head on out, Joe, I wanted to go ahead and ask this, because I know Thameless loves it when I say that. So that one's for you, Thameless. Before we head on out, KD in the comments from our late night Lakers fast break last week said, first ballot Hall of Famer with no rings, no MVPs, and 7 years of one side of the floor stats is a bit rich. The Lakers will not win with Luka as the first option. So seeing what you're seeing now, as far as him looking like he is in better shape, hopefully will sustain himself as that going forward, and this won't be a source of contention for all those Luka haters out there like him. But seemingly, KD is him. I'm not going to say he's a Luka hater, but my gosh, it's seemingly somewhere in that direction. Your thoughts on this, my friend? Because again, since the Luka trade, we have constantly been battling the naysayers, and you know who you are. And one of them, rightly so, has been about the weight. I will give them that. Rightly so, it's been about a commitment to defense. But even when he plays good defense during the course of the playoffs, like in the beginning, Games 1 and 2, he did give you good defensive efforts. He doesn't get any credit on that. He'll never get any credit on that. I'm not asking him to go ahead and be a stopper. I'm just asking him to play good enough on the defensive side to go ahead and allow him to be the dominant player on the offensive side you and I know him to be.
Well, while it's entertaining to throw some mud at those who continue to show negativity towards certain things that we like, in the end, it doesn't really matter. I used to hear this stuff about Shaq too, and then I watched him win three titles in a row. I don't know. Everyone wants everybody to be Mr. Olympia in the NBA, it seems, these days. I'm just looking for a team that can play like Oklahoma City played tonight. Cohesive, hitting timely shots on the road. Those are the things I'm looking for on this team. If you guys are going to be worrying about Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig, then go waste your time doing that. All I've seen Luka do in LA is drop almost 30 points a game and try to get through every trap known to man, because for some weird reason this team can't adjust to certain defenses, whether it's because of bad coaching, whether it's because there's certain players that can't do certain things, whatever it is. That's going to be now something that needs to be fixed now that he's here, now that you have an off season, now that you're going to have a training camp. Because I do think it's unfair to say, oh, well, you should have figured this out in 2 months. No, it's not how it works. It's not like getting Clyde Drexler and plugging him in for Otis Thorpe in 1995. This is a guy that's driving the car, not somebody that's sitting kind of in the passenger seat.
No, the bus rider. The bus rider, right? Joe, not a bus driver.
So it and you have to understand there's the atmospheric LeBron thing there. If you don't believe me, I want you to go watch every game with Luka and LeBron in it, where Luka got the ball at the end of the game when they needed a win. Your most clutch player. So tell me now that LeBron doesn't affect the game without actually affecting the game sometimes.
Hey, JJ.
That's an embarrassment. That's an embarrassment. Seriously, you have the most clutch one of the most clutch players in the league. The guy practically carried the Dallas teams the last 2 years to Western Conference final appearances and an NBA finals, playing clutch basketball, and you don't feed that guy once. Why? Because of Austin Reeves? Because of Rui Hachimura? Because JJ forgot?
JJ forgot.
So, whatever it is that you guys want, I'm going to side with the 26-year-old superstar who could literally go into the the Naismith Hall of Fame in 5 years if he had to retire today. I'm going to go with that guy, and I'm going to let this play out a little bit, because there's never been an instance where a Laker team has gotten a superstar like this, getting a superstar that wasn't a Laker, and they didn't win at all at some point. The history says they will. So build that. Playing aggressive verbal tennis with people online is a waste of time. It's good for entertainment, but in the end, it's like jerking off with a severed hand. You're going to create friction, but nothing comes out of it.
Well, even if he gets the MVP, even if he goes out, and I love the way Joe so colorfully describes this stuff.
Wow, I didn't even realize I said that.
I think that's why Sean's laughing so hard. You got Sean this time. You got Sean.
That's a good one. I'll have to write that one down.
Yes, there you go. So Lakers will play faster next. The thing is, playing with pace is something that Luka doesn't how should I say, Sean, he doesn't always play with pace. You see him; he's not the fast breaking Magic Johnson type deal as
No.
often as you would like. That's something I think that I'd probably say, to Luka. Obviously the defensive issues aside, you could say, if I could ask you to do one thing, I would say, can you push the ball up more? I know that was something that even in Dallas they talked to him about, or that's something he said that they had like, let's push up, because it just seems like he wants to go and start in a set offense right from the get go, even if the Lakers have numbers. So, for one thing I could ask him to do more often is maybe try to push the ball more often, especially if you've got LeBron out there, and the one thing he still loves to do at 40 is run the floor and run the lane if he has an open look at a slam or a layup.
100%, Gerald. And it creates a nice little deeper layer of an offense repertoire. If you have LeBron streaking down one seam and a center that can run like a gazelle on the other seam, with Luka running down the middle, it's havoc. It's havoc in transition, and yeah, it would be, like you said, Gerald, like a little bit of spice to an offense that like needs a little bit of a kick. Need some of that. Need some of that cilantro on those deviled eggs. That's what you need in transition right now. And you're right, Gerald, especially with LeBron James at 40 and still feeling surprised some nights. It would be an easy way to get LeBron and that other center, 6 to 10 easy points a game.
I guess Nick T is Joe saying something about last night with Cat going off like he did. Yes, it was better to have Jalen Brunson set out the majority of the fourth quarter. I don't know if it's something you want to continue to go ahead and do so, but yes, I understand that he is not like Luka, a vaunted defender, but Jalen Brunson has kept the Knicks involved in series, kept them in. They've at times, like you said, when a team needs someone to go ahead and have an entire team put on his shoulders, there are very few players in this league who do that at a playoff level. And Jalen Brunson and the Luka Doncic have already shown you that both, if needed, can do just that.
Well, what you saw last night was a all-time great coaching decision by Tom Thibodeau, understanding that Jalen Brunson is all-consuming, and they needed something else, and they got it from Karl Anthony Towns. I don't think it was a coincidence that Karl Anthony Towns went off in the fourth quarter with Jalen kind of sitting back and letting it happen, or Tom Thibodeau letting it happen. That's why I've been supportive of even if Indiana wins the series, they have there's a benefit in their style of play as well. But what's great about if the Knicks can win it, and it's same with Oklahoma City as well, is that you reward. There's a credibility that gets built around the fact that Mikal Bridges has never missed an NBA game, the fact that Tom Thibodeau is as aggressive and as old school, quote, old school philosophy of basketball. He's in New York. That whole thing works. And then you have somebody like Jalen Brunson who's the star, the one, yet you held him back for a minute and let things develop a little bit more, knowing where you were, and look what happened. You came back from 20, and then you let the offense maybe run more team-oriented versus a ISO type philosophy with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is an ISO player. Why do you think Dallas let Jalen go? This is the part that I have to. It's good to have a show like this. It's not good when I'm not on the show, because there's knowledgeable people on the show here with you and Sean, and then you have people out on the show that listen that actually have some knowledge as well. But when you talk to people that are in and around sports that all they're doing is essentially making bets and all that. When those discussions say, I can't believe Brunson. I let Brunson go. Dallas could have had everybody. I go, do you ever watch basketball? I go, how are you going to have two ball-dominant players on the same team? And you're going to pick Luka, right, at that time? Brunson doesn't become what he became in New York and Dallas with Luka there. So what you got last night was Tom Thibodeau lost 2 games at home, and he was desperate. They were down 20 now on the road. Now what? Shit, I got to do everything I can now to win this damn game. Otherwise, we're going to get swept. Look what he did, and it worked.
I mean, you got a superior fourth quarter performance from Cat, who on both ends. You got the Cat you were hoping for on both ends, which
and look what happened.
Yeah. The defensive end has been something that's been missing out of Cat in the entire season.
And if you watch what happened when they brought him in with a couple minutes left, all of a sudden you saw the lanes open up a little bit. It wasn't all traps on Brunson and just make him shoot a difficult shot or get through the sieve or whatever it is that's there. No, they were now worried about Cat. Oh shit, we can't sag off. We can't trap Brunson because they're gonna go throw it to Cat and Cat's gonna start hitting shots. Look, man, basketball is not a complicated sport. It's the least most confusing sport. Hockey's hard, football is hard. Baseball is mentally hard. It's the worst. Baseball might be the easiest sport to play physically because you're not. You're sitting 99% of the time, right? You bat and then you pitch. That's it. You don't like.
Yeah, there's a lot of VQ demand in baseball.
But look, man, basketball. You gotta pay attention. What the old adage is: let the game come to you. What did Kobe do in Game 7? The best player I've ever seen, other than Michael Jordan. He is dying out there in Game 7. He can't hit a damn backboard, let alone the rim. What did he do? And this is Kobe Bryant, stubborn ass Kobe Bryant. He goes, "Fuck this! I'm gonna start rebounding." You know, he's one of those guys you don't have to tell, right? He just adjusted. So, who's Jalen Brunson not to adjust in those kind of games? Those are the games
because they needed Brunson in the Boston series. They don't get by Boston without Brunson playing at a
correct because Boston plays a similar style of basketball.
Yeah,
right. And when you look at Indiana, look who their coach is. Rick Carlisle. Rick Carlisle is all about what Rick Carlisle does. Everybody knows what he does. He calls
the timeout. Well, I'm just going to say this, Joe. These guys are really ripping apart Brunson for yesterday. But the thing is, Brunson kept them in the games in Game 1 and Game 2. Yes, he is a defensive liability. So is Cat for the most part.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay, let me look, guys.
Look at the stats.
You got to pay attention to adjustments. This is the thing that drives me nuts.
You're not listening to what I'm saying. First off, Game 1 and Game 2, guys, Brunson exploited the Indiana Pacers. Whoever was guarding outside the three-point line, as soon as he came in from the three-point line, he exploited whoever was guarding him from Indiana in Games 1 and 2. And then as far as what you're saying, it's JY asking if he could do 10 assists in the playoffs. Is he capable of getting 10 to 12 assists? He got it 3 days ago. And he's already gotten it twice in the playoffs. So he's already proven that he can. I understand he is iso ball and isocentric. I'm not trying to defend him. I'm just trying to state what the facts say, because Game 1 and Game 2, he was the only reason that the Knicks were still in that game was because of his efforts on the ISO, because no one on Indiana could guard him in either of those games. Now, Game 3, his foul trouble, his defense, obviously it was a good move because he wasn't having the best of games. Cat needed to take over, and he did. That's called coaching, Joe. That's called coaching. And you're right about Tibbs. He's been doing a good job.
And Gerald, Mitchell Mitchell Robinson has been a problem for the Pacers because
You
Siakam
can't play him extended minutes. He's
and
gassed.
yeah, but Miles Turner is allergic to rebounding, kind of like
Yes.
Triple J is out of Memphis.
That's the reason why I would be scared to pick him up, because the Lakers have a severe rebounding issue. And
Yeah,
you're
no
bringing in a
Miles
guy
Turner,
who's
no
not
Triple
a
J. No, thank you.
He's the
Don't want
reason they
guys who,
lost.
yeah, exactly. Don't want centers who can't rebound.
So you're saying the guy who scored 43 points in game one is the reason why they lost on lost game one. Wow. So if he'd have scored 53 in game one, you would have said he would be the no, come on, Nick.
Well,
You're
actually,
your
Div,
credibility, you're getting to Rodell level on the credibility scale there, Nick. Yeah.
Div,
That's bad. That's
Div,
bad.
you kind of have a memory issue here. Rick Carlisle himself said that he was not at any point in time going to coach Luka offensively. It was Luka's show in Dallas. That's what Carlisle said, openly drilled. He said, Luka Doncic is the first player that I've ever seen on a basketball court where I decided I cannot give this player any kind of advice on the offensive end that he doesn't already know or possess. The problem with Rick Carlisle in Dallas wasn't even Mark Cuban. Do you remember who his problem was with, Drilled?
Who's that?
Bob. Herobos Vulgaris, otherwise known as Bob.
Oh, yeah, the gambler.
The gambler. Mark Cuban brought in Bob Vulgaris, and Bob was the one basically sort of being the shadow coach. And Luka was the one who was frustrated over that situation. So that kind of boiled over. And yeah, Carlisle quit over Bob, not because Cuban, and not because Cuban wouldn't let Carlisle coach Luka the way he wanted to.
Oh, 40 points doesn't mean anything when you don't close. Oh, okay. So again,
oh my God. So okay, so Dominique Wilkins outplays Larry Bird, but Larry Bird hits the last two shots, and that makes Nick.
How are you supposed to close when you're not?
Are you for real, bro?
How are you supposed to close when the ball is not going to you?
I don't know. It's simple.
You'll talk to JJ Redick about that.
Maybe you need to go back to school, Nick T, and just learn arithmetic. Okay, without the 43 points, if you don't have the Knicks, somebody on the Knicks, or several on the Knicks, supplant or replacing that 43 points, you would not have been in a position to be that close in game one without them. So I know you always love applying the Luka theory that if he scores 38 or 44, what, Joe? And, if he has that one key turnover, it's all his fault. What got you into that point where you were close enough to win the game in the first place?
It's
got to
much
remember
simpler.
that.
It's much simpler in understanding that if you're not giving the ball or setting up a play for your most clutch player, what is that clutch player supposed to do? Right
here. That's it. You don't know basketball, DivX, and you also don't know arithmetic. But again, that's beside the point here. So, absolutely, it's always good to roast Nick. It's always good, man.
I'm still waiting for the answer to that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Not one play, guys. We watched every game Luka played. Not one game he got the ball at the end of the game. Why? Did anybody ask JJ Redick that question?
So you're saying, Nick, that in game one, let's say he doesn't score that 43 points. Let's say he passes it on every opportunity. You're saying that Bridges, Cat, and everyone else, you guarantee that they would have replaced that 43 points and then some. You guarantee that they would have replaced that 43 points and then some. I'm waiting. Okay, Nick, then I've got a bridge I would love to sell you. And also as well an igloo in Alaska I'd love to sell you as well. So there you go. Absolutely. Sucker born every minute.
There igloos in Alaska though?
Yeah, because there you go. That's why there's plenty of them. So he'll be nice up there.
I got snow to sell you in Toronto.
There you go. Oh, absolutely. Sucker born every minute.
It's
And
almost the end of May. We don't have snow right now, but
well,
sure, check back
I'll,
with it be in a few weeks.
I'll just say it like this: suckers born every minute. And Nick, happy birthday. And we'll leave it at that. So once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with Magic Man Sean Grice and me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for listening. I know that Legend wants to come back on the show. I know these guys want to do more shows. We'll get you prepped up for what the Lakers do in the offseason. Plus, we'll give you constant NBA playoff reports and updates and recaps. Yes. Divray X-Ray says, did no one notice how LeBron and Reeves in the first two games could not cook Gobert but kept trying? Again, Gobert is feast or famine in the playoffs. Obviously, he did well against the Lakers, but we've seen at times it not work out. He's been played off the floor at some points. Today, he was in there and was effective at times. But again, when you have a big center in matchups like this, Sean, it's really hard to keep a guy like him out there if he's only able to do one thing, like Mitchell Robinson, like Hartenstein. It's hard to keep those one-dimensional guys out there in certain matchups, especially if these teams go 5 out in certain situations in the playoffs.
100%, Gerald. Now, you can throw somebody like Angel Reese in there as well. Went there, Gerald. Went there, but the truth is the truth. But yeah, I mean, if you're limited, I'm just gonna kill you until you make an adjustment, right? And I mean, for that series, yeah, I mean, hats off to Minnesota's coaching staff. But again, if you have the athletes they had defensively, I mean, anyone could protect Rudy Gobert in that scenario.
Yeah. So, Joe, you're asking for DeAndre Ayton to be here. Is DeAndre Ayton going to be the type of player that in the playoff matchups we can see down in the crunch time? That's basically what I'm asking for. Getting 30 minutes, that could be done during the course of a playoff game. Do you see him as a possible crunch time playoff performer?
No, I just see him as someone that can be a threat. We just need him to be a threat. The Lakers had no threat down low, not either on defense or offense.
Yeah, I agree.
And he's talented, guys. He's a talented player.
He's not the number one pick for nothing.
He is a talented player. And I'm going to say this again. I didn't hear a damn thing about DeAndre Ayton until he had contract issues with Phoenix. And I'm not blaming Phoenix for not wanting to pay him the max. This is the league you guys picked. This is the agreements you decided to go with.
By the way, he's one of those guys who, like, even in his high school photos, he looks like he's 35.
He looks like a younger version of Greg Oden. And Greg Oden looked like he was 70 years old.
Even in his high school photos, he looked like he was Benjamin Button.
What's good is Wilford Brimley was born with a mustache, right? And him and his diabetes commercials. The great thing about being old when you're young is you're gonna never age. You'll never age. He's gonna look that way. Wilford Brimley looked like Wilford Brimley for 50 years. So Ayton is going to look old probably for 50 years. And then they're like, hey, man, you never age. No shit.
Wait, hold on. This
he
is probably
aged at 14.
Guys, before we go, this is probably the dumbest statement of the day. I guarantee Knicks lose because your point guard can't lead your team in shots attempts. That's basketball 101. So, Magic Man, correct me if I'm wrong. What position does Shai Gilgeous-Alexander play?
He's a point guard, Gerald.
Yeah. So does that defeat the purpose of what Nick T, who, by the way, congratulations on being born today. does that defeat his basketball one? Did he just fail basketball 101 if SGA is, winning 3-1 over Minnesota and he is the point guard?
He's an idiot. Yeah. I've seen Allen Iverson take a team to the finals, shooting the most on his team. Could go back even further, Gerald. Go back even further. So
Steph Curry. Good point, Xbox. He's the point guard.
Tiny Archibald
led the league in scoring.
Yeah, and assists. So so Nick T, you are full of bullplop.
Joe, we're seeing a point guard in SGA. That's the position he plays. That's the position he's listed at. He's leading his team to the finals, and he's the predominant scorer. So Curry played off the ball.
And if Luka had stayed healthy, listed as a point guard, he would have led the league in scoring and assists as well. So,
Joe,
we judge these guys by whether they win championships or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the gig. I remember in 2006 when Dallas was up 13 in Game 3 against Miami, and then they blew it, right? And then they ended up losing the next 3 after that and losing the finals. I watched Dirk Nowitzki play his rear end off and still got called a choker. There's a difference, guys. There's a difference between choking and losing admirably. Tom Brady lost 3 Super Bowls watching from the sidelines. He threw 500 yards in one Super Bowl. He had the lead in both Super Bowls against New York, and those aren't chokes. There's circumstances that come about. Now, if you want to talk about what the Lakers have done the last 3 years, you could say those are chokes because they go into the fourth quarter with double-digit leads. They go into halftime with 18 and 20-point leads, and they still lose. That is bad. The Lakers in Game 4 in 2008 in the finals were up 24 at one point. They were up 20 late in the third.
The last real choke in this sport, the last real one was 2021. Phoenix should have won that NBA Finals.
Yeah.
They choked it away.
Yeah. All they had to do was hit one extra shot in Game 3 as well. You can't lose 2-0. You can't be up 2-0 in the finals and lose. That's just not – that's a beauty. That's another thing that's beautiful about when you look back on let's say, Phil Jackson and Kobe Bryant and those guys, Michael. Man, when they won Game 1, they never lost. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Phil Jackson never lost a series when they won Game 1. That's crazy. It's like in the 40s. I think it's 45-0 for Phil. 45-0. Like, come on, think about that. That means if you could go back in time and just not know who wins Game 1, but know that if they win Game 1, it's over. Oh, it's over. Every series. Dude, these guys played 20 years. Coached 20-plus years. That's a crazy stat. I don't think that stat gets talked about enough. Game 1, you win Game 1, you're toast. That's crazy. I don't know. The argument back and forth again. I've been saying it's entertainment, and we've gone off the rails on it. People enjoy it, but I got to be honest, man. I think it's at the point now where we got to let this marinate a little bit now. Yeah, there's a training camp that's going to come. There's a summer that's coming. It looks like Luka's already getting ready. Beautiful. I didn't think he wouldn't. I was very confident that he would. And now it's Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss's time to start formulating the Luka era. And it starts in about 4 weeks. 3 weeks, maybe 3.5 weeks. Yeah.
Not far off. It's 3 weeks.
NBA draft coming up. Free agency coming up. So yeah, just very exciting. So
And Gerald, if behooves the audience, I feel that I could be available when Slovenia is playing. So if anybody wants to check out the FIBA Championship this summer, I will be representing the Lakers Fast Break, and if the audience wants to join, we can watch Luka in action.
I'll see if I can set it up if it's available on playback. If I can get it on playback, I definitely will have it up there for you then.
It should be.
So we again, if the Knicks win and Brunson scores 40, just remember that Nick T guarantees that they will lose if Brunson scores 40, even though they have won and Brunson scored 40 in a playoff game so far this playoffs. But I digress. But he hates Luka and hates everything about players that play like Luka. He just does. He wants the traditional point guard. That's all he wants. And fortunately, the league is not all about that anymore. It's wherever you have your best players.
At least he's not in the group of death.
Yeah, that's true.
Serbia, Germany, France, Spain, all in one group.
Ouch! That's pretty painful right there. But we will see. And then again, as we get closer to the draft, we still have a number 55 pick. So we'll bring on still to answer. But we always like to talk NBA draft anyway. So we'll be talking about all the things that are going on in and around the draft, not just the Lakers, but we'll just be talking about that. And then, of course, we'll keep here continuously throughout. Legend wants to come back on the show, so I got to bring him on later this week. And I know you guys want to go ahead and talk as well. Joe, any experiments coming in the not too distant future for the Dodgers for one today?
Yeah, I'll be doing one probably Wednesday after the series against Cleveland. It'll be the end of the road trip. Hopefully they can come out of it.
God, that's so depressing when you see that city on your schedule as an athlete. Cleveland. Oh God,
you're watching it. Like I'm watching it today. It's a 3:10 start.
Oh, God,
3:10 is like we know they're in the central area, east, right? So I start watching the game, and Ohtani blasts his second game in a row, his home run on his first pitch, right? I'm like, all right, cool. Just don't do what you did yesterday, as yesterday, where that was the only run they had against the Mets. And then you saw Yamamoto pitching, and I was like, hell yeah, he's locked in. And then you just start seeing them do their thing. But like an hour and 50 minutes in, I swear, man, it felt like I was watching it for 4 hours. I was like, dude, Cleveland is such a shithole.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. Nobody who lives there even likes living there.
What is it with Cleveland? What is it with I have had to deal with Cleveland my whole life.
It's really depressing.
Steelers, the idiots drafted Kellen Winslow Jr. instead of Big Ben and ended up eating it for 20 years.
And then he ate somebody else. Yeah, so
jeez. So yeah, it's Cleveland is not. There's a scene in. There's a funny scene in Trainwreck, the movie with LeBron and Bill Hader, and then that twat. What's her name? I always forget her name. Schumer. It's actually a funny movie if she wasn't in it. Like if she wasn't in it, the movie would have been great.
Yeah.
Bill Hader's hilarious. LeBron was hilarious, but there's a funny scene where he's talking to LeBron, where Bill Hader and him are having thing, and he's like, you ever, then the Cleveland, you used to always call me when I was in Miami. He's like, yeah, but that's Miami. He's like, what's the difference? It's Cleveland and Miami. It's the same. And Bill like just stared at him. You're right. It is the same. When are you gonna come to Cleveland? That's where Superman. That's where Superman was born. Cleveland.
Meanwhile, they're not the same.
No. Cleveland is not good. Cleveland is terrible. The baseball team hasn't won a World Series since 1948. their football team hasn't won a championship, I think, since 1955.
Autogram is like what,
Yeah,
43
Autogram.
years
Yeah,
old or
Autogram
so?
was there.
Yeah. My
They're
God.
what else?
Oh
What
my
else?
God.
Cleveland Cavs finally won, but they should have won more. Cleveland doesn't have a hockey team.
They did have a hockey
They
team.
did.
Steinbrenner moved them.
Interesting way to end the show, right?
Well, I mean, there's always the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I mean, who the hell wants to go to that?
Okay.
That's about it.
Well, you're gonna go there once, twice, and then what happens after that?
Does Brown Stadium still have a jail? Because I know Brown Stadium and Lincoln Field had jails. Yeah,
Veterans Stadium.
Well, to recap again, OKC is one victory away from going to the finals. Xbox, we were talking about it earlier. Again, OKC is finding the way to win on the road. That's what you got to do in the playoffs. They got to go ahead and win on the road, and they proved it. And they've pretty much got the series locked up as they head back to OKC. I don't expect Minnesota in that crowd. That crowd is pretty good. One last thing, though, before we go, guys, is it funny how you're seeing at every arena for every playoff game in this championship series, the finals, the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals, Sean and Joe, every one of those arenas on every game providing T-shirts for their crowd, except one. I'll let you guess which one that is, Magic Man.
New York.
Of course. The ones with the most expensive tickets, by far, the most expensive tickets. We're not talking about resale value. We're talking about face value. By far. And Dolan will not, you know what? They don't even have to pay full. Like Oklahoma City, they've got a casino or another sponsor to help pay for these $3 to $5 T-shirts out. No, you won't do that. No.
Oh, for fuck's sakes, Dolan, you got the Sphere money rolling in where Gerald lives, and you can't afford freaking T-shirts.
He won't even get free advertising. He doesn't even want free advertising from what Beyonce. We're talking about Beyonce. Beyonce gives him free advertising in the palm of her hand, and he says, "Cease and desist," like an idiot. What an idiot! Absolutely cheap and dumb. And he's losing hand over fist on the Sphere, by the way, Sean. Just to let you know.
Oh,
Joe,
is he?
Yes. I know you're not big on the giveaways, although you are going Saturday night, correct, to the Dodgers Yankees? We were talking about that Friday. Okay.
I thought
you were going Friday. I thought you were going on Friday, but the bobblehead is on Saturday. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. Raphael's going Saturday. That's when the bobblehead is.
I don't really care about stuff.
That's what I was saying. So you don't really care about the free T-shirts, but it still.
And I don't need. The last thing I need is more T-shirts too. By the way,
I know, but it still.
I gotta get rid of shit.
It still sends a statement when you just these other teams, these other arenas, Minnesota tonight.
Mm-hmm.
They will spend the extra money for these things for their fans for support, and you won't do jack crap on it.
Because remember, Joe, the Knicks fans actually traveled well this postseason, and you and me keep a watchful eye on who in the NBA decides to hold sway over the ticket stuff. And for that Detroit series, do not sell to New Yorkers. Do not sell to New Yorkers. And then the second round, what did Boston do? The same thing. Yes, we are only selling to Boston fans, only selling to those in the Massachusetts area. And then we get to the conference finals, and Dolan could decide to be generous and magnanimous, Gerald, and give away a free T-shirt. And nope, we're going to cheap out.
Nick T said he's not cheap. Nick's had the highest payroll. Nick, when you know basketball and you know the history of James Dolan, you will say yourself, boy, was I stupid for making that statement to the Lakers fast break.
Yeah,
Again,
and
he is known to be cheap. Understand that. And the Knicks do not have the highest payroll. I don't know what planet you're on, but the Knicks do not have the highest payroll in the NBA, Sean. Man, Nick, your credibility is now at Rodell level. It is now at the bottom of the barrel. Man.
Well, you're really scraping the barnacles, aren't you, Nick T?
Yeah. Man, you were just wrong, and wrong. So there you go. Yes. Unbelievable. Yes. Know what you're saying before you try to say it. Oh, not recently.
The steer will be a profit. Or a write-off at some point.
That is so funny. Absolutely. You crack me up, Nick. That's great. You just the stuff you say. You just say whatever just comes out of your ass. It's like, that sounds like a thing I'll say. Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Just like, it's not right, but I'll say it anyways. It's just like, man, just absolutely just killing me, Nick. Just, man, just great to have you here and watching for 2 hours. We appreciate it, but man, just some of the stuff you say cracks us up. The Isaiah. Oh, he's now go back to the Isaiah Thomas regime. He's now trying to backtrack from what he says. He now corrected it. So it is what it is. But
well,
yeah, John.
Oh no, I mean, Gerald, we could go back in time and talk about, you overpaid somebody who made more of an impact eating lemon cakes on the bench than actually getting rebounds. Jerome James. You fat, you know what?
There are a ton of stories out there on James Dolan's cheap.
Gerald, yeah, come on. Like, let's be honest. The reason we know he's cheap, Nick, because he overspent on players who are either over the hill or were on a contract year. He overpaid them. He got bled dry, and that's why he turned cheap.
I'm sorry. He's called in this article from last year frugal, I'll say. Frugal. There you go. All right.
Yeah, he's also frugal with his hockey team. He's frugal with the MSG network. He's frugal with pretty much everything he owns,
including the cable company that he owns. But need I digress? Yes. Yeah, there you go. There's an article for you. Read that in your time off. But it is, of course, the Lakers fast break. Joe said he will be coming up on Wednesday. We'll also have another show on the get-go. I think I'll go ahead and put it on Thursday to not go ahead and intersect with Joe's, unless Joe wants me to go ahead and front it, but that's up to him. He wants me to go ahead and do it back-to-back. We'll see.
I'll figure it out tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
I wanted to do a show after the road trip for the Dodgers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. But it is, of course, the Lakers fast break. Cannot thank you enough for sticking with us for 2 hours. Looking forward to talking more about the NBA playoffs and, most importantly, the Los Angeles Lakers. Yeah, that's all I want to put on James Dolan. It's right there. It's right there broadcasted so far in this playoffs. 3 teams committed to spending at least a little bit of money and giving back to the people who are buying seats. And then there's James Dolan. And I'll just leave it at that. So again, it is the Lakers fast break. Magic Man Sean Grice, Joe Soro, me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. We'll be back with more shows this week. Go like and subscribe to Joe Soro Experiment and the Joe Soro channel. This is James. Yeah, this is James Incorrect Hex level bad. He hasn't been here in a while, JSJ. So maybe he got the hint and moved on. But again, it is the Lakers fast break. Thanks again for joining us. We'll be back later this week, right here, from all your friends, and in the case of Nick T, enemies, right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. Wow, so silent for everyone. Okay.